Hi everybody, welcome back to Fish the Mark. Appreciate you joining the channel. Please feel free to put some comments in, ask questions. Let me know what you'd like to see done better in the channel and other places you'd like to see us fish. This is day two of the Banner Marsh fishing that I did back at the end of May. And so last week I published day one, and this is day two. Day two is actually a couple days later. Day one was like May 27th. Day two is May 30th. Of course, it ended up being almost completely different fishing the way it turned out, which is typical for what happens to us in the world of fishing every time, right? Is we we go out to go fishing and we think we know exactly what's going to happen based off of a previous trip, and it all changes. So let me get into the information here for the trip. So went May 30th, Banner Marsh. All the details about Banner Marsh, East Access, Wheel Lake are in the first video, so you can go back and take a look at those. For this trip, I went straight to this area that I caught them in the last time. So I came down, put in the ramp here, came down, shot through the cut, came over here, started here, and started going this way. And caught a couple of fish doing that, but it was not near as good a fishing as what it was the first time that went through here. So after fishing that, I went over and tried this area. I caught some short fish that I didn't put on the video over here, doing the same thing I was doing over here, which is flipping a Rocket Craw into horizontal trees. And so I went over here, caught some shorts, and then I ran down to this end of the lake. The wind was really blowing hard. I was looking to get a little bit of protection. It was blowing my little boat around pretty hard. So I came down here and got out of the wind just a little bit and switched techniques and went to a lure that I never used at all in my life, but Ryan up at Presley's turned me on to it, called a Little Dipper by Reaction Innovations. And I'll show a picture of it, and there'll be a link below. And by the time I got down here, I only had about 45 minutes of fishing left in the day before I had to take off. And in that 45 minutes, I caught 5 fish on this Little Dipper. And it was a lot of fun. I'm still learning a few things about it. I had the wrong hook size on there. I had a 1/0 EWG hook on. I've since changed and started using a 3/0 EWG hook. I was just losing too many fish on that 1/0. And so I went to a 3/0. So you'll see that I lost a fish or two on this day because I was using the 1/0. But I'm just Texas rigging it with a 1/8 ounce split shot, or a 1/8 ounce bullet weight on the front. Depending on how thick the cover is, I will either peg the sinker or let it free flow. If there's not thick cover, I'll let it free flow. If it's really thick cover, I'll peg the sinker. And then I actually twitch it back to the boat a little bit. So it's a new lure that I just started fishing this year. That actually this trip was the first time I ever used it, and I did fairly well with it. And I've been using it a fair amount in areas that have grass since then, and I've had quite a bit of luck with it. So something I recommend you go out and take a look at and start using. And I'll get into a little more how I was working it when we get into the videos. So the first 2 fish in the videos are caught on my Rocket Craw. You guys have seen me use this thing a lot. Texas rig, 3/0 hook, 1/4 ounce weight, pitching it to horizontal cover. And then the rest of the fish I caught were all in this Little Dipper. Texas rigged it. This particular day, like I said, I was using a 1/0 hook. I've since switched to a 3/0 hook because I was just not getting enough fish in the boat. I was missing too many on the 1/0. And then I usually put a 1/8 ounce worm weight on the front of it. And if there's not much cover, I'll let the worm weight slide up and down the line. If there's a lot of cover, I'll peg it to the weight, or peg it to the lure. But it helps it kind of stay down in the weeds a little bit by having a little bit of weight on there. And so we'll show the fish catches for both of these and kind of talk through a little bit what we did with the Little Dipper as we go through the fish catches. So let's take a look at those catches for day 2 out at East Access Wheel Lake. I started, as I said, in that ditch along the riverside there. That's where the ditch runs through, is right over here. And this is the first fish catch out of one of those horizontal trees. And here's a small fish that just picked it up and got it and pulled him in, probably a 12 or so incher that I caught, doing the same thing that I did the last time I was out there and in the last video. So I thought, well, all right, maybe this day's going to work. Then a few minutes later, I dropped into this tree, and he got me wrapped around the tree a little bit. This ended up being the best fish of the day. Ended up being a little over 18 inches, so he was keeper by Banner Marsh limits because they have an 18-inch limit at that lake. So he ended up being a keeper, so nice to get one of those in the boat on the trip. And so we got him in, but again, throwing it into horizontal trees and dropping that pit boss down, or not pit boss, but the Rocket Craw down, and in horizontal trees and catching fish. I went through the rest of that canal, didn't catch any more fish of any real decent size. I went over, as I showed on the map a few minutes ago, went over and tried another area that has fish in it for me, and caught short fish over there, but did not catch any keepers. So I swung around. This is now when I swung around to the very north end of the lake and fishing back in an area that I showed on the map there on the north end of the lake. And I've switched over to the Little Dipper here. And this is like my 5th cast with the Little Dipper, just trying to see how it works. And I got a clue right off the bat. This fish was crazy aggressive when he hit. And though he wasn't big, man, he tore into it. And so I started using that Little Dipper in this whole area here, and just started catching quite a few fish on it, really. In about 30-40 minutes of throwing the Little Dipper, I ended up catching 5 fish on it, maybe 6 fish. I lost 2 others on it. And so I had a nice time in the next 30-40 minutes just throwing this Little Dipper. And you see I'm twitching it there. I was bringing it back like a soft jerk bait, instead of just bringing it back straight on a straight reel. Did a really terrible job with the boat flip here. But I got that 17-incher in the boat, and was real happy with that. Sometimes I bring it back on a straight retrieve. Sometimes I twitch it like a soft jerk bait, bringing it back. Depends on what the cover's like, what the bottom's like. This area here had less cover in it, so I was just bringing it back on a bit of a straight retrieve when I got hooked up with this fish. I'm using 15-pound test with it, a quarter-pound weight or a quarter-ounce weight. And this day I'm using a 1-aught hook. Like I said, since then I've switched to a 3-aught because I was just missing too many fish with it. Here's one over the top of a sunken island that I got, just a nice little 12-13-incher. And then went down the other side of the island, cast up the opposite direction, and got another one off the island. So caught 2 fish back to back off that island. This one's a little bigger. This is about 14 inches. So, it ended up being a slow start to the day. Caught a couple on the that you saw on Flipping the Wood, but did not catch any more big ones doing that. Went over to another spot, Flipping Wood, caught some more little ones, and then ran down here and started throwing this Little Dipper and started catching fish on it, and had a really good time catching about a half a dozen fish in about 30 minutes, and missed 2 others. So something I really enjoy doing, and something I encourage everybody to take a look at, the Little Dipper. Presley's has them. I'll put a link in there for them at Presley's that you can go get them. All right. Well, I appreciate you coming in and taking a look at the channel. Hopefully you got something good out of today's fishing and what we did at Banner Marsh, East Access, Wheel Lake. Please put in comments, lakes you'd like for me to go fish, if there's techniques you'd like for me to show, and anything that you do out at Banner Marsh that you think would be good to share. I'd love to hear it and see it on the comments. So thank you again. Appreciate you joining.